before I get into the presentation, I would like to set some context on why we built TechGig Pro. So we were already, in a sense, working on some of the problems that the IT recruitment industry was facing. Uh, but there was a fundamental thought there. The thought was, can we do better? Some of the problems which the tech recruitment industry was facing was of time, speed of hire. Can we get to the right talent quickly? It was of discovery. Can we figure out from a candidate's profile whether he's the right fit for my organization? And during the pandemic, we figured out that there was another problem which companies were facing, which was shortage of people taking the interviews. So the line managers also double up as interviewers for getting in tech talent. So terms of hiring. So the fundamental question was there: can we eliminate line manager interviews out of the process? Was there a method to do it? So these were the thoughts with which we started, and we were looking for a solution. There were a couple of solutions that were already there from TechGig. One is the assessment product that we have, which helps you to build your tailor-made assessment as per your hiring requirement in a matter of minutes, and it helps you assess people on skills that matter. It's not just a CV-based profiling that you do, which is, as many of the panelists highlighted, inefficient because of the keyword match mechanism that most people use. We also have a contest and hackathon platform. As many of the panelists said, the contest hackathon platforms helps you identify not just people who can build solutions for some of the problems that you give. It also helps you observe people in a real work environment and understand team dynamics. So when we give our contest and hackathon solution, we are not just giving you the power of the assessment platform, but we also give you access to 70% of India's tech community. These two things were something which were already there, but the question was, could we do better? With that thought, we worked on the data that we were sitting on, which is literally a gold mine, and then we built a product which would help you address many of these problems that I spoke about. Yeah. The true cost of hiring when it comes to IT recruitment is something which is overlooked and ignored. What the line manager is usually concerned about is who are the top 10 people that have come to me. But the entire funnel mechanism which works in the backend, that is conveniently ignored. What that leads to is a very high cost and a huge lead times in terms of hiring, which is usually overlooked. So this is a typical funnel. We have taken a hybrid approach in which you start with a job listing, and also you do an assessment at the end as part of your screening mechanisms. As you can see on the screen, it starts with a job listing, which lets you post your job on a job board. Then you get interests from candidates, which is your sourcing process. Once you have sourced the candidates, you put them through a pre-screening mechanism by putting the data into an ATS, or by having people look at the resumes manually, or any other mechanisms to pre-screen candidates. Once you have pre-screened the candidates, you want to put them through a basic technical round before passing them on to the line manager for a face-to-face interview. If you look at the aggregated cost and time there, so this is primary research that we had done as part of our research mechanisms. For hiring getting about 20 interview ready candidates, you have a lead time of about 21 days, and there's an average cost of about 3.3 lakh rupees. So those are numbers that that has come from our primary research. This is something which has been validated by a lot of our clients. just it's the only reason people don't come to know it, because what happens before the line manager does the interview is usually overlooked. So how does TechGig Pro help you address that? TechGig Pro gives you, what is TechGig Pro? So TechGig Pro is a pre-assessed profile. It is also a verified profile. So when we say pre-verified, it is a profile that has been verified by the TechGig team, and it's someone who's looking for a job. It is someone who's specifically interested in the job listing that you have. Pre-assessed means the profile has been validated in terms of his skill proficiency in the skills that you are looking at. So those are two fundamental keywords which are there when it comes to the TechGig profile. The advantage there is that it helps you screen faster. So when you look at a typical resume, what does it has? It has work experience. It has the basic profile of the candidate, has the education. That is a self-certification. It is the candidate saying that this is something that I have done. I'll show you a typical TGPro profile. What does a TGPro profile have in contrast to a usual CV? It has a history of the contests that you have done. It has your performance in each of those contests that you have participated in. And it also gives you a benchmark for the skill that you are looking at versus the entire industry. So that, in a sense, is a more objective way of looking at a candidate for a skill that you are looking to hire. What are the advantages there? Every company, so when we look at our data for every company, we can know that what is the skill score for a particular skill for at which people typically would get hired. So suppose there's a company A, we can tell you exactly at what score for Java a candidate is likely to get hired. Now, how is that helpful? It is helpful because the candidate knows that which are the companies where the probability of he getting hired is high. And the company also knows that, okay, this is a candidate whose probability of getting hired into my company is high. So that matchmaking process is quite efficient there. Since it is pre-assessed and it is pre-validated, the conversion ratios are much higher. Since you also have the performance and upskilling history of the candidate, you can also evaluate the profile in terms of learnability, etc. Since you have a benchmark against the industry, you know where the candidate stands in that particular skill with respect to the entire industry. So when we compare TGPro with the traditional hiring mechanisms that we have, what we have seen that the conversion ratios are much higher, and also the lead time is much lower. So when we look at a typical hiring process, the lead time is anywhere between 21 days to more than 21 days. It can go up to 2 months, 3 months, depending on the profile. In the case of TGPro, what we have seen is that the lead time can be as low as 7 days, as Karthikeyan was pointing out a few minutes back. Now the question is, how do we do it? We run about 400 to 600 recruitment-related contests and hackathons in a year. Every time a candidate participates in any hackathon, his TGPro profile gets updated. His TGPro profile gets updated on the basis of his performance in each of the contests that he has participated in. We also do 2 large events. One is TechGig Geek Goddess, which we concluded 2 months back. And we also do something called TechGig Code Gladiators, which Shukriti has been highlighting throughout the session. So these are 2 large funnels of assessing candidates and putting them into the TGPro database. So I'll briefly touch on Code Gladiators in the next slide, because that's our key mechanism of adding TGPro profiles into the system. So we add about 250,000 pre-assessed users annually into the TGPro database, and this is across skills. So we have TGPro database for more than 80 tech related skills in the database. This has been the history of Code Gladiators. Why this slide is important is the sheer scale at which we do this. Every user, so when we look at last year, we had about 3.16 lakh users who registered for it. Every user who participated in TechGig Code Gladiators contributed, became a part of the TGPro database. So this adds uh, about 200,000 profiles to the TGPro database every year, and is our biggest source of adding profiles to the TGPro database. We also do internal skill assessments. So these are skill assessments that candidates can come and they can take on the platform. Most of the contests and tests that we do are proctored. So we do a audio video proctoring, we do switch tab proctoring, and we also prevent things like people going out of the window, etc. So that helps make the TGPro profile more robust, because the sanctity of the test that they have taken, that is something which is ensured by the platform. Now, what makes TGPro skill-based resume better than a conventional resume? This is something that I covered briefly earlier. What a conventional resume tells you is what the candidate is willing to tell you on his profile. What the TGPro resume tells you is how the candidate has performed in the skills that you are looking to hire. So, and these tests are proctored, the sanctity, the integrity of these tests are maintained. So when you look at the profile, you know, okay, this is someone who's at a 1 percentile when it comes to Java. So the guy has to be really good at Java. So the fundamental difference is in the conventional resume, it's a self-certification. In the TGPro resume, it's his performance, it's his historical performance. It is his interest area that he likes to consume content on or learn about, that you can look at and figure out that whether the candidate is the right fit for your company or not. This is the process for TGPro. The way it works is you share a job description with us. What we will do is we'll look into our database. We will then give you a list of candidates who fit exactly to your JD. And when you get the resumes, you can then match them with the JD, and then you can take your interviews. So we have a team working in the backend to ensure that the profiles that we give you are the best profiles when it comes to a match with your job description. So Nabomita had briefly covered about the TGPro resume. So I'll show you an actual resume. I'll show you the platform. I'll show you how the TGPro resume is, TGPro profile is generated. And then I'll also briefly show you a comparison between two TGPro profiles for two different skills for the same candidate. So that will give a sense of how one particular candidate can be a good fit for a certain skill, but will not be a good fit for another skill. Yeah, so this is how the platform looks like. We have about once again, yeah, we have about 2 million pre-assessed users on the platform, which is the highest database of pre-assessed profiles which exists anywhere in the world. These are the different skills for which we have the pre-assessed resumes. What we'll do is we'll look at one of the skills. Let's take machine learning as an example. So we have about 41,543 pre-assessed users on the platform in machine learning. Yeah, so the user in the search, we get users by their score. So when we look at the first user, he's someone who's an MTech from IIT Kharagpur. There are different filters which are available. We can filter users by location. We can filter users by skills on their profile. We can filter users by company. We can filter users by what college they have studied in, and we can filter them by gender. We can also filter users by the experience bucket that they will fall in. If we would want to have profiles in multiple skills, we can do an and or search on the platform. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and pull out the first profile and show you how that looks like. So all you have to do is click here and it will download the profile. Once downloaded, this is how the profile is going to look like. Oh, so this is someone who has 17 years of experience and is very active on the platform. So the green, the green ones, green bubbles are the ones for which there's a profile score which is generated. The blue and the orange ones are the ones for which there's no profile score generated. So if we scroll down, so when we look at this profile, we know this is someone who's very active on the platform, has taken all kind of tests on the platform. If you click on, yeah, if you click on download here, it gives you a choice of what skills that you want to choose. So I chose artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science, and downloaded the profile. It will give you the score and it will give you the score and comparative analysis of all the skills, but the contest listings will be only for the tests for the skills that you have chosen. So when we look at this particular profile, he is at a top 1% when it comes to big data, top 1% when it comes to machine learning, top 1% when it comes to data science, top 1% when it comes to SQL, top 1% when it comes to C, and a whole lot of other technologies. A top 1% for cloud computing, top 1% for artificial intelligence. And it also tells you what topics has he been assessed in. So when we look at big data, the candidate has been assessed in Hadoop, Hive, Pig. So we would have questions around these topics in the tests that this user has taken. And he's at 100 percentile for all the skills. So when we scroll down further, when we scroll down further, it will give a listing of the different contests related to artificial intelligence, data science, and machine learning, the 3 skills that we chose when we generated the resume. So we can see that the candidate has been participating in a lot of AI and data science related contests, and he's been in the top 20-30 percentile for most of the contests, and he's been in the top 3 percentile for some of the contests. The contest complexity is also given. So it gives you a sense of whether he's been performing well in difficult contests or he has been performing well in easy contests. It also tells you what skills the contests were in. And if you further scroll down, if you further scroll down, it will have a listing of the different webinars and learning sessions he has attended, and it will also give you a basic profile. So when we look at this profile is more actionable. This profile gives insights about the user's interest area. It gives you insights about the user's tech proficiency in the different skills that you are hiring for. What we will do now is I'll show you one profile which gives you a sense of comparison for one candidate for two different skills. So this is this was a requirement which had come in from a client, and they wanted to hire women candidates in DevOps and Azure. So we had one candidate who fit into both the profiles. But when we look at her DevOps profiles, she's in the top 95%. There's a 95% match. She's in the top 2% in DevOps, top 9% when it comes to cloud computing, etc. So she's in the top percentile bucket when it comes to DevOps and cloud computing. For DevOps, she's a perfect match, 95%. But the same candidate, when we pulled out her profile for Azure, she was at a 75% match. So the same candidate, she's been taking part in contests for both DevOps and cloud computing. In DevOps, it's a perfect match. In the case of Azure, it's not so much a perfect match. So what the algorithm does in the backend is from the search, it figures out how your performance has been in the skills that you are looking for. It also looks at whether there's an experience or location-based criteria which has been fed in. Your performance is the most important criteria. If you have done well there, then your match score will be high. The next will be experience and location. So we can see that what the engine does is it takes your requirement, it looks at the candidate's performance with respect to your requirement, and then it generates a profile and stack ranks people on the basis of their profile match. So this candidate is most likely to be accepted for a DevOps role in this particular company and was a fit match for the company, but not so much for an Azure profile. That kind of clarity will be very difficult to get from the traditional CV. When you look at two comparable CVs, you would not know who would be a better match for what profile. What the TGPro profile helps you do is objectively look at a candidate's profile and stack rank them with 100% surety that this is a candidate who's better than the next one. The next one is better than the third one. So it helps you objectively do that, which is why the conversion ratios are high, because the skill proficiency bit is taken care of there. And since the mechanism in the backend also does a validation that the candidate is interested in your company, the conversion ratios are high there. So that brings me to the end of my presentation, but I would like to leave everyone with a thought. So one of the problems which I had highlighted was the bandwidth crunch that many companies are facing when it comes to interviewing candidates and getting them in. So there's one proposition that we made to a lot of companies, and which was kind of accepted by a lot of companies, that why don't you look at a TGPro profile and then you can eliminate the line manager interview. This is a candidate who has performed consistently and has been a top ranker in the skills that you are looking for. Can we do away with the line manager interview and just do a fitment interview and get him onboarded into the company? So I think that's where the industry is shifting towards. And since it's a teething problem that a lot of companies are facing, TGPro profile addresses that, and it helps you bring down your time to hire, bring down your cost of hiring, and also helps you get better candidates in the smallest amount of time.